Hi guys, welcome back to the Q1 FY26 series, and in today's video we are going to be covering Yatharth Hospital and Trauma Care in detail. We will cover the PPT, the con call, what went down, and how does the outlook look like. Okay, so as you know, Yatharth Hospital and Trauma Care, if you look at them, they have around 5 hospitals as of now that are operational. The 3 hospitals in the Noida area, that is Noida, Greater Noida and Noida Extension, one hospital in Jhansi Orka, the other one in Faridabad area, and they recently did an acquisition of 2 new hospitals, a 300 and 400 bedded hospital in Delhi and Faridabad respectively, which has started operations in July, and the Delhi hospital has started operations in July 14th, that is just last month, and the Faridabad hospital that is there, which was acquired in the last year, that will start operations in August, that is this month, somewhere in the end part of this month. Okay, so as of now, if you see for Q1, if you roughly see, there are 5 hospitals that are there, that are adding to the revenues. Now, first thing first, let us go in detail. First, let's talk about the sales growth. Okay, now a lot of you people are actually misunderstanding the result that is there with Yatharth. Okay, so we will break down each and every bias, or I wouldn't say bias, but the misunderstanding that is associated over here. So the first thing first is sales growth, right? We see that the sales grew by 22%. Now, a very common mistake that I see with people is they're telling that the sales growth that is there for this company has come down. Okay, because traditionally, if you look at it over the quarters, that if you see, the sales growth has been somewhere between 30%, in that range, right? Like 30 odd percentage in that range. So 30 say 22 aya, so people are telling like pace of growth has come down. Now this is a wrong way to look at it. Why? Because as you know, Yatharth के पास अभी capacity नहीं है, right? As of Q1, if you see, Yatharth के पास capacity नहीं है, because the 3 hospitals that we see in Noida, that is Noida, Greater Noida and Noida Extension, that are very old, they are very matured hospital, जिसको occupancy is already trading at 70-75 percentage. And right, any hospital can do maximum of like 80 percentage occupancy. Why? Because as you know, there are certain beds that are there, like ICU beds होता है, there will be certain dedicated beds which are only for a specific treatment. Now अगर आपके पास patient आए भी तो, because that beds cannot are let's say for ICU, and somebody is coming just for internal medicine, you cannot treat that patient. That is why already the 3 hospitals that are there, that are running at maximum occupancy. Then we have Jhansi Orka hospital. Okay, that so technically, if you see, they only had 2 hospitals. One is the Jhansi Orka hospital, which was there since the IPO ka time, and the second one is the Faridabad hospital, the Greater Faridabad one, which just opened in the last Q1. It has just been 1 year since it has been operationalized, right? Only these 2 hospitals that are there. So if you see, they have done actually really good, considering even Q1 is a bit of a lean period for them, right? So 22% is not because of pace of growth has gone down. It is because they didn't have capacity, and the other 2 hospitals that is supposed to add to their revenue वो operationalized हो जाएगा in Q2 and Q3 respectively. Okay, so first of all, pace of growth hasn't come down. It is just an aberration in the quarter, and the number that they have provided, in spite of not having capacities, in spite of not having too many beds compared to last year, in spite of that it has been phenomenal kind of numbers in terms of sales growth. The second is operating leverage. अगर आप देखते हो, PAT grew by 40% over here. Now yes, there is a part a little bit from the other income that is coming. Other income आप देख सकते हो, एक there is around I think around I don't remember how much, but there is a little bit, I think around 90 million, somewhere in that range. There is an other income portion that is adding to the profitability. Now here जो other income का part है, that came because उनका जो FT में पैसा रखा था from those transactions, from those interest that is there, it is coming from that. Okay, it's not coming from core operations. Now in spite of, if this other income was not there, yes, they would have missed out on operating leverage. But यहाँ पे operating leverage ना मिलना भी, it is not a bad deal. I will explain it later. Okay, we will go to the other metrics that are there. One is the volume growth and the value growth. If you look about the volume growth, यहाँ पे hospitals में, if you talk about volume growth, अब कैसे बात करते हैं? Volume growth is in terms of occupancy. Occupancy अगर आप देखते हो, last time it was 61%, this time it is 65%. You might see there is no like not a big deal in terms of occupancy. Again, matured hospitals है, वहाँ पे bed नहीं है. So you will have to look at individual hospitals. So अगर आप individual hospitals देखते हो, you have to look at 2 hospitals. One is the Jhansi Orka hospital and the other one is the Faridabad hospital. Jhansi Orka का hospital जो था last Q1 में, it was 45%. This Q1 में उसका occupancy is 59%. So roughly a 14% ज़्यादा हो चुका है in terms of occupancy, you can tell, right? So that is a good good metric. The other occupancy ऑक्यूपेंसी अगर आप बात करते हो ग्रेटर फरीदाबाद, बिकॉज दिस इज अ हॉस्पिटल दैट जस्ट ओपन लास्ट ईयर. सो ग्रेटर फरीदाबाद में अगर आप देखते हो लास्ट Q1 में द ऑक्यूपेंसी was just 10% when it started. In just 1 year span of time, this has reached an occupancy of 50%, right? If I'm yeah, 55% in just 1 year. Why this is a big deal is because most of the times when you talk about hospitals, they take at least 3 years to break even. Okay, like 3 years. If it is something that you're talking about, like greenfield karke, sometimes even it can take 5 years. But minimum 2 to 3 years लगता है for a hospital, to reach that 40-50% occupancy and to reach that EBITDA positive होने में उतना लगता है. Forget about profitability में. I remember I told you यहाँ पे कि like when you talk about the operating leverage, अगर यहाँ पे अदर इनकम के बिना अगर आप देखते हो ऑपरेटिंग लेवरेज नहीं मिलता है. इन स्पाइट ऑफ दैट इट इज ओके. मैंने क्यों बोला? बिकॉज जस्ट इन अ पीरियड ऑफ 12 months द ग्रेटर फरीदाबाद हॉस्पिटल दैट इज देयर, दे हैव बिकम नेट प्रॉफिटेबली. अगर आप नेट प्रॉफिट देखते हो उस लेवल पे द नेट प्रॉफिट हैज बिकम पॉजिटिव. सो दैट इज व्हाई आई एम टेलिंग कि लाइक विच द हॉस्पिटल, मतलब 12 महीने में ये करना, इट इज एक्चुअली अ सल्यूट आप बोल सकते हो उसको मारने के लिए. सो दैट इज वाई इतना मैं स्ट्रेस कर रही हूँ कि लाइक इन स्पाइट यहाँ पे सेल्स यू माइट सी लाइक 22 है कंपेयर टू द अदर हॉस्पिटल. आपको लगता होगा पेस ऑफ ग्रोथ नहीं मिला, बट इट इज अ गुड नंबर बिकॉज कैपेसिटी नहीं था उनके पास. एंड जस्ट विथ 2 हॉस्पिटल जो उन्होंने किया, ये 20% का ग्रोथ करना वही बढ़िया बात है. एंड ऑन टॉप ऑफ दैट इस लेवल पे इतना कम टाइम में एक हॉस्पिटल को पैट में पॉजिटिव करना, दैट इज ऑल्सो अनदर एक्सेप्शनल थिंग. ठीक है, सो दैट इज द थिंग. देन द फोर्थ metric we have to talk about here is क्या? वैल्यू ग्रोथ. राइट नाउ वैल्यू ग्रोथ हाउ डू वी नो? वी गेट टू नो बाय आरपॉप. अगर आप आरपॉप देखते हो, आरपॉप is also up by 6%. Now, why did the ARPOB improve? There are two factors. As you know, Yatharth, when you compare to all the other hospital in the listed space, they have a higher payer mix coming from the government portion, right? Government से almost 40% आते हैं. This various government का scheme, ECHS and all of that. Now, here is another thing. These people, it's not like, these people are reserving certain beds for government. It is not that. उनका जो 4 hospital है, the three hospitals in Noida and the 1 hospital in that Jhansi Orka region, it is in that area or that, in that encatchment where, all this CBI का officers, आपका army का officers, they उनका जो, these people stay together, right? उनका, I don't know what you call that, quarters में, it is around that area. So that is why they get most of the income, from this government payer mix. And a lot of people, the shareholders, they raised concern कि like, क्योंकि क्या होता है, government payer mix से आपका अगर ज्यादा revenue आते हैं, one is आपका ARPOB कम होता है because you cannot increase the price of the treatment, readily. Like अगर आप cash में देखते हो, cash का price, if a patient is paying by cash for that segment, you can increase the price. Insurance is the second and third is government payer mix. And the other problem with government payer mix क्या होता है? आप तो treatment दे देते हो पर government का पैसा आने में 6 to 9 months लगता है, right? Receivables high होता है, shareholder के लिए ये सब पसंद नहीं होता. So when in the last con call, not the last, but I don't remember which con call it is, I believe it is Q4 of FY24, not Q4 of FY25. I think it is Q4 of FY24. A year ago, when shareholders, raised this concern, they started getting the government payer mix down. Okay, although it is not a problem for them, like that is how they've operated since the time they've been since the time they have been in operation. They got it down, like purposely they got it down, just to make shareholders happy. Even the Jhansi Orka hospital, वहाँ पर भी क्या है, that hospital is surrounded near that railway का quarters का area. Okay, so there also they started putting a cap in terms of government का patients हम इतना ही लेंगे, not more than that. So एक तो यहाँ पे payer mix बदलने लगा, they started catering more to cash and insurance. The second क्या हो रहा है, इनका super specialty mix is increasing. They're pushing more towards oncology treatment, organ transplant, right? All of these treatment, जिसमें margins is relatively higher compared to your general medicine, right? So both of these reasons is why you will see the ARPOB that is there has increased by 6%. Now along with that, another good news is, right, जो नया hospital open हुआ, the Greater Faridabad, वहाँ पे when they started only, they started कि like भाई मैं 20% से ज़्यादा यहाँ पे नहीं लूँगा government payer mix से, maximum will come from cash and insurance. That is how they started. Okay, so that is also another thing. And because of that, जो उनका फरीदाबाद में the ARPOB that is there, it is around 34,000. because group level में अगर आप देखते हो, it is around 30 to 31,000. वहाँ पे थोड़ा ARPOB is higher because of the same reason in Greater Faridabad. And आगे जाके बोल रहे हैं जो existing hospital है ना, मतलब जो नया आने वाला है, not existing, जो नया hospital आने वाला है, that is in Delhi and Faridabad, there also it is going to be the same thing where they're going to cap the government cutting at 20% and and most of it is going to come from cash and insurance. Okay, and वहाँ पर भी ARPOB, because they will be focusing more on cash and insurance and super specialty, वहाँ पर ARPOB will be greater than what it is in the current Noida, because current Noida में 30 to 34 it ranges somewhere in that range. वहाँ पर it can inch up to 38, 39 or even 40,000 in the new Delhi hospital and the new Faridabad hospital that will be operationalized in that. Okay, Delhi is already operationalized, July 14th को वो open हुआ, and greater Faridabad one will be operationalized in August, in this mahina, in the last week of this mahina it will be operationalized. ठीक है, so all in all, whether you look at sales, whether you look at profitability, whether you look at in terms of value growth, volume growth, everything tick tick tick. और एक अच्छा बात है, as you know, यहाँ पे in spite of these people, because see, these people are opening 3 hospitals in a span of like 14 to 15 months. It is not a joke. एक 3 hospital 14 to 15 months पे open करना. So in spite of doing that, one thing do you see, EBITDA margins are stable at at that 24-25%. If you look at it, traditionally they've been at 27% kind of EBITDA margin, but the management has always guided for 25%. Now last time Q4 में उनका EBITDA margin fell at 24%. ठीक है, इस बार it is inching up a little bit higher, 1% higher है. That is because first of all, ये जो 2 नया hospital से जो भी ये expense आ रहे हैं and everything, right, जिसके वजह से थोड़ा सा impact है, that is getting neutralized by what, जो greater फरीदाबाद का hospital है, which has become net positive. So because of that, थोड़ा EBITDA margin has increased from last quarter to this quarter. Management का ये कहना है कि like in the upcoming year, that is in this FY 25-26 का year, expect an EBITDA margin between 24%, maybe starting from Q4 of this year, that is Q4 of FY 26, they can all this ये जो one time cost related होता है until that hospital gets operationalized and everything, then we can inch it up back to 25% and above EBITDA. So until then maybe 24% आप उसी range पे पकड़ के चलो. Okay, so overall a good update on all the fronts if you talk about it. Then the last thing I would tell is talk about the new hospitals that are there, right, in Delhi and Faridabad. वहाँ पे एक अच्छा news है. See, usually when you talk about a new hospital, like it is very important that the hospital has empanelment, right, which means what, आपका जो insurance का है, आपका जो government का policies है, it is there, because वरना क्या होता है, लोग you might start a hospital, but let's say if I'm a patient and if I need that empanelment, if I know that my insurance is not supporting this, I will not go there now. So it becomes imperative any hospital that they open, that they get all of this insurance on board, all of this government का policies on board. Okay, यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है, again they are working with 90%, like वो बोल रहा है कि like 90% of the insurance people that are there, they are on board. Even if it is not there, अभी कैसा चल रहा है in the hospital is, these insurance are connected to some private agents and the patients come through private agents, and they can get their insurance. So in a way कि like even if you do not have the empanelment, it will not be a problem for them to board patients, right? It shouldn't be a problem for them, and that is how they have been running. So overall, even in that case, really 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 good. Okay, and management ने बार बार यही चीज बोला है कि like accelerated growth आपको मिलेगा Q2 से, because Q2 से क्या होगा, ऑलरेडी जुलाई में एक दिल्ली का हॉस्पिटल ओपन हो गया ना, that will add to the revenue. Q3 से दिल्ली का हॉस्पिटल and फरीदाबाद का हॉस्पिटल will come, so they will go back to that probably 30% and above का that category that is there, they'll probably go to that range. Okay, only problem is little bit शायद operating leverage ना मिले, maybe the other income part obviously will not be there, so थोड़ा operating leverage ना मिले. But see, if you are in the hospital space, you know that यहाँ पे अगर capex चल रहा है तो operating leverage मिलना मुश्किल होता ही है. You will only get operating leverage once the hospitals that are there, they start to break even, so that shouldn't be a concern. यहाँ पे growth rate is the most important thing. Okay, then the last thing is in terms of capex. As you know, when Yatharth came for IPO, यहाँ पे उन्होंने बोला था that they will double the bed capacity by FY28. In a span of 3 to 4 years, they will double the bed capacity. Now, if you see, they've already done 3 acquisitions, which is inching up to closer. And उनका एक और था, which is the brownfield capacity, जो Noida and Greater Noida extension का hospital है. They told they would add, they would increase the bed capacity at 200 to 250 beds. They have been telling this since IPO का time, if you remember, right? IPO का time में they didn't mention any acquisition, but this thing was mentioned. But this has been put on hold because as you know, उनका यहाँ पे 3 acquisition हुआ, right? So they got this opportunity to acquire these hospitals. वहाँ पे cash चाहिए था, वहाँ पे they needed the time and everything. So they put this brownfield का जो expansion is there, it is on hold. But now since all the 3 hospital will get operationalized this year, they will get back to that brownfield का plan. In Q2, we should see, already जो नोएडा का hospital है, they are telling वहाँ पे construction हम start करने वाले हैं from Q2. And जो नोएडा extension का hospital है, वहाँ पर brownfield it is still in planning phase. In this year we should get to know, वहाँ पे they will give a plan के like, कितना capex होगा, क्या होगा in detail, by what year it will be operationalized. And उन्होंने ये भी बोला कि like, जो आगे जाके है कि like, yes, we told कि like FY28 तक we will double the bed capacity, but we will do it before that. Again, a good thing for shareholders. And the other thing they told was कि like, although we are not giving an explicit plan, कि like हम और भी bed add करें or anything, but we would like to continue the growth momentum that we have, so which means what, they are not going to stop at this acquisition that they're doing and everything, right? They will continue to do so. In fact, they're eyeing one more hospital somewhere in that Ghaziabad, in that northern area, northern part of India region. Probably we should see another one acquisition also coming through. Okay, so overall a really really good set of numbers, really good con call आप बोल सकते हो. Everything is great. I know एक और a couple of questions will come from that Jhansi का hospital because the ARPOB is lower over there. वहाँ पे ARPOB is 14,000. Please understand that hospital is near that railway का area, and that is where all that railway का people come, and वहाँ पे maximum आता है वो government scheme से. That is why the ARPOB is lower. Jhansi का hospital is पूरा का पूरा volume game यहाँ पे. The entire value growth is going to come from the new hospitals, Greater Faridabad and Delhi. Okay. Then the last thing is आपका IT का issue. As you know, Yatharth has been having that IT rate income tax का issue, right? Since the time again it has been listed, IT का issue चल रहा है, and we should see it ended by this year. By this year, the entire IT का issue should be solved, and they're telling कि like शायद उनको एक very minuscule fees या small fee देना पड़ेगा because of that IT issue. ठीक है भाई, दे दो, कुछ भी करो, close that case. I mean, even if you have done that IT fraud, make sure that the news doesn't come out. That's all I can tell. I mean, as long as the news doesn't come out, good for shareholders. Do that, get rid of it, kuch bhi karo, just get rid of that IT tax issue. That's all I have to tell about it. And yeah, only thing right now is the competition is max. Although like I believe this numbers what they have done in Q1, in spite of not having capacity and everything, really great sort of numbers. What matters is once that the real test would be from starting from Q2 and Q3, because Q2 and Q3 mein that 2 new hospitals will come, right? So after that there is no more expansions, nothing, at least in the near term that we have. Then it would be a right comparison between between Yatharth and Max. Not this quarter. This quarter is not the right comparison. Agar Max this quarter 40% bhi grow kare, it is not a right comparison, because Max has so many hospitals that is going live, so many beds that is going live every quarter. So it is not right. Even if you look at Kim's also unka jo bhi beds tha, it was supposed to go live in Q3 and Q4. It started going live in Q1. So इसके लिए उनका आप देख सकते हो sales growth of Kim's is 26%, but उनका operating leverage नहीं मिला. PAT is down by 10%, I believe, right? अभी result आया when I was doing the video, right? So Kim's is also not a right comparison, because Kim's का capacity has gone live, Yatharth का capacity has not gone live. Again, similarly, Max also, as of this quarter, it wouldn't be right to compare Yatharth with Max, because Max has a lot of capacity that is going live, unlike Yatharth. The right comparison will be Q2. Now, yes, Yatharth has really performed well. It has really done really well in this quarter. But what matters is they continue to beat Max coming in the upcoming quarter, starting from Q2, Q3, Q4, right? They have to beat Max across the metrics. They have to do so, because Max being a 1 lakh crore ka market cap company, it is growing at 30-35%. You are a chota company that is literally at like 1/10 of the size of Max. Now the only way the market will actually care about you is actually care about you is when you grow at a higher rate of Max, right? Varna P rating mila mushkil ho jayega. In the last quarter, if you see from the last quarter, again the growth rate of Yatharth is back, right? Like last quarter, if you see Max and Yatharth, it was literally neck to neck competition. I think Yatharth grew like a little bit higher, 1% higher compared to Max, right? आप देख सकते हो like, और इस quarter उसको operating leverage भी मिल गया in a way, right? Next quarter से when 2 capacities go live, if Yatharth becomes, it needs to grow. So I can only tell is, if you are a Yatharth ka shareholder, you pray to God ki like, Max वहाँ पे टट्टी करे. If you are a Max ka shareholder, you have to pray to God ki like, Yatharth can never inch up to Max. That's all I can tell. But overall, a great set of numbers, absolutely great. There is nothing to complain. I think like if you have taken the workshop, portfolio analysis in the year, that FY25 ka workshop which we did last quarter, this is one of my holding companies, right? Like you would know about this. And I don't think anyone has criticized this so much in the last 2 quarters, last 3 quarters as much as I. At the same time, nobody has been the biggest cheerleader for this as much as I, right? Like, so that is the thing. I think Yatharth is a little bit personal for me in a way. Yatharth is a little bit personal for me in a way because, I have been holding this company post IPO. 1 quarter after the IPO, like after the IPO, the first result that they came out with, right? After that, I've been holding this company. It's been, I think, like around more than 2 years I've been holding this company. You ask me about this company in sleep, I'll tell you exactly what happened in which quarter. The reason I don't have to look at anything, while talking to you about Yatharth is because I have experienced everything. I literally have skin in the game over here. And this is that one company, I think, that has made me cry, that has made me patient, that has made me resilient. But most importantly, it has taught me, I think I am a better investor because of Yatharth. Because when we read investing books now, it's easy, but experiencing it is difficult. With Yatharth, think about all the out of syllabus question, think about all of the curveballs somebody can throw at you. I have experienced that. Okay, literally everything. IT raid, legal case, that entire, एक केस चला था सारा हॉस्पिटल में, from the public, like, you have to, एक regulatory का एक issue आ रहा था where the high court was supposed to rule कि like, सबका fees एक ही कर दो irrespective of private public hospital. That case, receivable का case, oh my god, don't even talk. Like, every single, मतलब ये जो था, this stock should have re-rated in the year FI, that the first year it came in IPO, because at that time they were growing at 40%. Okay, and Max was growing at that time at 16%. I still remember it. And at that time जो भी hospital था 30 कर रहा था, 10-9% का growth कर रहा था. The only hospital that was growing was Medanta, because Medanta that time was growing at 25%. अभी तो वो 30 करे, 9% से grow करते हैं, ठीक है. So that time I've been tracking this, I've been holding this, and I have seen this company go from 390, because my buying price, was around 364, 390. From there, it had reached in 1 quarter where it bet max, operating leverage, Mila, receivable ka issue hua, everything had gone, everything was clear. And I still remember in that 1 quarter, that stock went from 390 to 682. Then वो Jan या February का, I think in that month, right, of this year, वो ambit बोलता है कि like भाई मैं इसको cover नहीं कर रहा हूँ, we will take the rating from buy rating to, मैं no rating, we are not going to cover this company. वो आता है, right, वो that stupid issue comes, stock fell 690 से, I think literally it came to my buy price 390, 389 पे भी चला गया था, 394, because I had made that gains from 390 to that 680, 682, and within, I think, just a few weeks, not even few weeks, I think 5-6 days, tuck 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 tuck, more Maya, every little thing I have experienced, every single thing with this thing. So this is quite a little bit personal for me, I think, in a way. When I see it, I don't think any company, I'll make a video on this, once I exit this company, right? Like once I exit this, I'll make a, just like how I've made a video on PGL. Once I've made a video on Tinara, but you've seen my journey, right? I'll make a similar video on the same, on Yatharth, like, what's my mindset been and everything. I think if you guys got that portfolio analysis workshop in FY25, you already know. You will again see that in Q1 FY26 also, what I'm doing with this company, right? Because if you got that FY25 workshop, when was that time, because there was a time over here I did cut my position a little bit, I did add also over here. Now you will get to know what I'm doing in Q1 FY26. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride. And I can tell you something, like I mean, you can go back, if you're someone who's followed me since 2023, right? If you've been on Twitter, because I started YouTube too recently, like it's been a year since YouTube, I believe. But if you've been on Twitter, you probably know I've been covering this company since that time, right? Since that 23, you would have seen my post about it and everything. So yeah, like this is like super super personal to me, I think. Yeah, that's that. But you also know something about me really well, is like, although I think I'm just emotional about it, about only one thing, is because of the journey that I've had, like, because it has really taught me one thing, is conviction. Matlab, fuck everything and conviction, conviction, conviction. How you build, I think Yatharth has taught me that. But most importantly, I'll tell you, it's built a different mindset. It's built a resilience. Like I think, what they tell you, have to go through dirt, in order to build your mind. Like, you have to be resilient. That is what it has taught me. Like it's refined my checklist even more, done everything right. So I owe this company credit, because there are a lot of times when a company does well, but you're just stuck. That is the only time I tell you to have patience. Okay, like like company अच्छा कर रहा है, management पर call अच्छा है, but you know what they tell, long term investing के लिए patience चाहिए. That is the only time I'll tell when the company does well. I'm only emotional, because of the things I've gone through with this stock, like it's like I think investing in a stock is more like, I'll tell you, आप पहले बार board exam देते हो ना in the 10th grade, right? The first time you give a board exam, you get that anxiety and everything. Result के लिए आप wait करते हो, right? Similarly, I believe, when you have your own money involved, especially someone like me, if you've got your entire net worth in stocks, right? What happens, right? Every time a result comes, it's like the 10th board exam ka result, except that you're not giving an exam, right? It's a weird feeling. I can't explain. If you're someone, who is an active investor, you understand that. So that is the thing. There have been times, I still remember iska jo ek call tha, that I think that Q3 ka call, right, where that receivable ka, not receivable, that Ambit Capital ki issue aaya tha and everything. I still remember I was in Goa at that time. I was at Oxford Arcade and I was taking the con call in the fucking grocery store, like I still remember this. So that is what I'm telling. It's just that the journey with the stock is emotional. But as you all know, I'm like the last person with respect to stocks ke saath emotional hona, because if things go wrong tomorrow, if the growth rate is gone, if I find something else better, I will drop it in a minute and I will go. I will cry later, that is okay, but first I'll churn my money, then I will start crying. That is who I am. I think if you guys see, right, Kitex was one of my holdings, and I've been a biggest supporter of Kitex for last Q1 also, right? From last Q1, I've been talking about it. And, Kitex result has been shit, absolute shit in this Q1. And it was expected only, right? Because unka jo capacity hai, nobody knew whether it is going to go live or not. And I just sold, literally, limit order, aftermarket order, placed kia, sold the shit out of it and got out of it and moved my money somewhere else. You'll get to know in Q1 FY26 ka workshop mein where I move the money to. So that is the thing. Like, I can be very emotional about certain things, but I don't let that emotions, affect my decision making process. I will first do the action what is necessary, and then I will cry, and then I will celebrate. That is how it has been. So yeah, this I'm just really, I can just tell you one thing. I was just really happy looking at this, at the kind of numbers that they posted and everything. And hopefully in Q2 and Q3, right, I hope, they continue to grow. They continue to do 30% and above. Operating leverage bhi dikhai. And most importantly, they beat Max. That is the only enemy that is there, like Max is the only enemy right now. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Max, but you are my enemy right now. And I really hope, they beat Max starting from Q2 and Q3 with the two new hospitals that are there. So yeah, that's that with the entire, that's that with the entire Yatharth Hospital and Trauma Care. I will see you guys in another video. Bye.